Hello, welcome to lecture 39. This is week 13, which is we have only 2 weeks left for this semester. I'm going to begin with the lecture with number 5050. What does that mean? If you have a car accident in Korean road, you often hear this word. There is no 10 to 0 in Korea. So there's a person, driver A, driver B, both cars bumping each other. Okay, so two cars had an accident on each other. Then, roughly it's the driver A's fault. But it's very rare in Korea that the driver A is responsible for everything. The policeman, the judge find out something that driver B also did something wrong. So he said 90% for driver A, 10% on driver B. So in our notation, when there was a damage A, large A, capital A here, from the accident, it's never like the total A is for driver A and driver B, nothing like that. Oh, there's a case like that when your car is stopped. So your car was not moving here and a car came here and bumped your car from behind. When your car is moving, another car bump you, then may not even 10 to 0 because your car was moving. Your car was like stopping at red light or something, the car behind it bump you. But if the sideway, it's not 0 to 10. I mean, that's usual. So, we want to check. Okay, we checked strict liability by the negligence and activity level, etc., etc., etc. But we always talked about the case where the A is total responsibility for injurer, or A is the total responsibility of the victim. But one might say, we have trouble to make both people be careful. So what if we have 50-50 rule? So whenever there's an accident, the injurer gets the 50% responsibility and victim get 50% responsibility. After all, it sounds fair. We'll see. We are going to use the same example at lecture 37, which means the total damage A would be 10 power by 6, which is 1 million. And W, I, W, V are 1. We already know because of the calculation, by the calculation, please do it again if you don't remember. That's a good exercise. The optimal precaution level for injurer and victim would be 99. Okay, please do it. Do the math yourself. Now, I want you to do it by yourself too. What if the A is not 10 power 6 anymore for injurer or victim? It's 10 power 6 divided by 2. So 10 power 6 over 2, 10 power 6 over 2 for each injurer and victim. Because the judge or the law says whenever there is an accident, the damage would be equally distributed, divided between injurer and victim. So this damage would be half for injurer, half for victim. After all, that's the spirit of 50-50 rule. Okay, if you do the calculation correctly, if I did it correctly, it's not star. What precaution level the injurer and victim would choose 10 power by 2 over 3 root 2 negative 1. Because 3 root 2 is bigger than 1. If it's 1, then it would be 99. But this is 1.2 something. So 100 divided by 1.2 something would be definitely smaller than 100. -1 would be definitely smaller than 99. So compared to the optimal level, 99, this 50-50 rule would bring in the precaution level of injurer and victim, the precaution level less than the optimal level. So this 50-50 rule cannot guarantee the socially optimal precaution level. Always, the injurer and victim, both sides, would be less careful than optimal. Okay? It would be very difficult to explain this verbally, but that's why I introduce you this calculation, differentiation, this example. If you do that through the mathematics and through the calculation, you would understand why the 50-50 rule, something like that, would never guarantee the efficiency. Okay? Now, let's sum this up, what we did. First, I'm summarizing this all the time because even though, why is he doing that? But, when I was stupid, I don't remember clearly what the teacher said in the previous lecture. So if I ever become a professor, I will do that. Here I am, I'm a professor. So the first, when there is only precaution from the injurer side, so if the victim doesn't have to be careful, we know that the strict liability and negligence guarantees the social optimality. However, when we need the precaution not only from the injurer but also from the victim, the strict liability never guarantee both injurer and victim would be careful at the same time. So we have negligence. The negligence rule can guarantee the victim and injurer would be I got this huge pollen problem. Anyway, sorry on that. The negligence rule, unlike the strict liability, can guarantee that the victim and injurer both be careful, optimally careful. So when both sides need to be careful, the negligence rule is better than strict liability, in theory, at least. Then I introduce the activity level, which means it clearly influences the probability of accident. So the government may want to do something on it. However, the government cannot do that for some political reasons or because it's very difficult to measure or something. So like driving hours, how sleepy you are, cannot be really measured, cannot be forced by the government. Like you look sleepy, so you go to jail. Same as you look drunk. When you're drunk, you go to jail. But how can you measure someone is sleepy or not? So the sleepiness clearly has an effect on the accident probability, but cannot be enforced by the policeman. Policeman cannot catch you because you are driving and you look sleepy, something like that. At that time, what we can do is, if the injurer has the activity level and the victim doesn't, we apply the negligence rule to the victim. So if victim abide by everything, set its XV to the XV star socially optimal, so victim would never be charged. So now the injurer left, he knows that not only my XI, but also AI, my activity level, would influence the probability of accident. But then, because the victim would be careful, if there is any accident, the responsibility would be on me. Therefore, the injurer would do its best to set its precaution level as well as the activity level at the socially optimal, because that would minimize its cost. Make sense? Okay, you go back, probably lecture 38, and look through it. It will come to you. So we call that residual bearer because the injurer who has an activity level, if we make the residual bearer, which means if nobody did anything wrong, but there is an accident, who would be responsible? That is residual bearer. Now, residual bearer, not because of the government or policeman's guidance about if you don't do that, you go to jail, but because if there's an accident, I would pay everything, so I would do my best to reduce the cost of accident. So he would behave as if the social planner or social optimizer or something like that. Now, you can clearly see the problem. Why the precaution level is needed, precaution, being careful is needed for injurer and victim. Well, why the activity only for injurer or only for victim? If it's only for victim, then we make the victim residual bearer. But let's say not only the sleepy driver, but also it's like the drunken pedestrian. Okay, if you're drunk, that clearly increase the victim's probability of getting accident. Okay, however, we cannot really make a law, maybe not now, not maybe in the future, but not now, that if you're drunk, you cannot, not only it's forbidden for you to drive, you cannot walk. How can you say that? I mean, if you're drunk, you cannot drive, but at least you should walk. Otherwise, you cannot go home. So drunken people can legally walk home. But then, even when they are walking home as a pedestrian, if they are drunk, they are more prone to at the accident. Okay, they are slow. I don't know. They just lie down and things like that. Okay, so then we have to find out a way to make both, because in order to have an optimal result, we learned that whoever has the activity level, we have to make him or her the residual bearer. But how can we make both the injurer victim as a residual bearers? Okay, if both injurer and victim has activity level, we got to, in order to achieve the social optimum, we got to make both injurer and victim as residual bearers. But what's the meaning of residual bearers? When there's no accident, it's residual bearers should take charge, responsible for all the damage from the accident. But the injured is responsible for all the damage of the accident, as well as the victim is responsible. Is it possible? In reality, no. Like, the car hit a person. A car hit Professor Han. Okay? So the driver is Professor Lee. So is it possible that the damage, Professor Han should be hospitalized, and total damage for Professor Han hit by the car driven by Professor Lee would be $500,000. Okay, $500,000. But then, how is it possible that Professor Han pay all the $500,000 while the Professor Lee who drive the car pay Professor Han $500,000? That is how we can make both residual bearer. So somehow Professor Lee pay $500,000, but Professor Han didn't receive. How is it possible? In reality, once again, it's not possible. It's never done. But in the strange mind of economists, it can be done, or it should be done. How can it be done? The Professor Lee, who's an injurer, pay $500,000, but to the government. But the government say, oh, okay, so we receive it from the injurer, Professor Lee, but look at the victim, Professor Han, lie down. He need $500,000. If the government does not deliver the money to Professor Han has to pay the medical fee by himself, and the government does not deliver. So Professor Lee, injurer, pays the money to the government, but the government just swallow the money, $500,000, and never deliver it to Professor Han. So Professor Han's point of view, who paid the medical fee? Myself. Professor Lee, the injurer's point of view, who paid the medical fee? Professor Han? I did. So let's assume Professor Han, Professor Lee, neither of them was careless. They were both careful, but somehow there was an accident. Then Professor Lee think, oh, unlucky me, I have to pay everything. Professor Han said, oh, unlucky me, I cannot get paid because Professor Lee didn't do anything wrong while driving. He would not pay me. And Professor Han, the Lee's point of view, Professor Han didn't do anything wrong as a pedestrian, so I have to pay. So both feel like residual bearer, but then the money snatched by the government. This is totally efficient. If you calculate it, then that rule, like the government take the money, does not deliver to the victim, guarantee that both injurer and victim would be careful enough. Their precaution level would be social optimal. Brilliant, isn't it? It's like a genius. However, in real life, what if Professor Lee pays the money, but the money was swallowed by the government and not delivered to Professor Han? If I ever found out Professor Lee paid for my medical fee, but government just took it away, I would be so mad. I would burn down the government building. But Professor Lee, he paid for Professor Han because, my car hit him, but then he never delivered. Government took away. Think about that. Government should be responsible helping us. And maybe I would feel like government is partially responsible because I didn't do anything wrong. I abide by all the government rule. Professor Han abide by all the government rule. Why there was an accident? Something wrong with the government traffic rules. So government is maybe responsible. It's nobody's fault. Then probably it's government's fault. But what happened to government? They got the money. They didn't do anything. Maybe that's the problem, one of the reasons, but they got the money. If government begin to do that, the people would be so angry, the regime will collapse. So, the brilliant economist comes up with a way to make people choose the proper precaution level, even when the activity levels are bilateral. Both victim and injurer has an activity level. However, we are really far, far away from really installing this, implementing this method system into the society because people would be upset. We cannot really explain to the people and justify that government kind of steal the money from the sick person in order to why? In order to achieve the social optimum. Wow. Who told you that? The crazy economist. Okay? So even an economist who think like myself, this is an excellent, genius idea, would really against the idea that really doing it in the real world because after they burn down the government building, they will burn down the economics department. Okay, I will continue in the next lecture And this is the end of lecture 39. See you soon. Thank you.